John Penrose.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I rise to speak to my amendment that's been tabled, not just with my signature on it, but also the Chairman and the Deputy Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. That's Amendment number 68. And it's about value for money and evaluation. And we've already heard during the course of this afternoon that this excellent bill, which covers an enormous amount of much needed reform in this area, is dealing with about £300 billion worth of taxpayers' money every year. It's a vast amount of cash, and it's vital that we spend that money as effectively as we possibly can. It matters not just for the value for money which taxpayers get, but it also matters for the efficiency and effectiveness with which our public services are delivered to. And that ought to be a compelling dyad if ever there was one. And the aim of Amendment number 68, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is to achieve this evaluation, which we're already hearing about from the Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. I would stress, incidentally, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that it isn't just a cross-party amendment. It isn't just something which has support from both Labour and Conservative members and from the cross-party Public Accounts Committee. It's also got a very unusual political coalition behind it, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It's got the Centre for Policy Studies, the Taxpayers Alliance and the Adam Smith Institute, all good, solid, free market, centre-right think tanks, but it's also got Transparency International, Spotlight on Corruption, the Campaign for Freedom of Information and the Centre for Public Data. In other words, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is a very unusual political coalition backing something because it is right in principle and because it also does better for value for taxpayers' money as well. And therefore I would urge ministers to give it much closer attention. I appreciate it is different from the equally important questions which we have also been addressing during the course of this afternoon about exploitation of workers, exploitation of Uyghurs and human rights abuses around the world, but domestically and in the middle of a cost of living crisis, this really matters to everybody in our own constituencies, the man and the woman in the street, hard-working families up and down the country. This matters, and it can make a prompt difference very quickly. And I'll happily give way
so grateful to you for giving way, because value for money, of course, is at the heart of procurement, and we all want to see that happen. The Royal Institute for British Architects actually have recommended post-occupancy evaluation. Now, obviously, in terms of public buildings such as hospitals and schools, this would be really an effective tool. Could this form part of the evaluation that he's talking about?
Absolutely. It's a very good and broad-based example, and it proves the breadth of applicability of this concept. The whole idea behind it is based on the What Works network, which is currently backed up by the Evaluation Task Force, a joint unit in both the Cabinet Office and His Majesty's Treasury. And that is a long-standing, over 10 years' worth of expertise, of arm's-length evaluation of government contracts. It's a great idea in principle, and it has its roots very firmly in successful examples, such as, for example, the National Institute for Clinical Excellence, which does this crucial job for medicines being bought by the NHS. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and it's a very big and important but, at the moment, out of that £300 billion worth of public expenditure, just how much is properly evaluated each year? And the answer, the stat of shame, as it is described within the civil service, is 8%. £1 in every 12. And that, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is shocking. It should worry all of us, whether or not we are concerned about value for money, whether or not we're concerned about the effectiveness of our public services. 8% is just frankly far too low. Now, it is true to say that some of the major projects have their own arrangements. They have gating agreements and a much more structured approach. So there is something there which will take on, and we hope drive improvements there. But for everything else, for the annual contracts, or the contracts that are granted on a 3-year rolling basis and then renewed and then extended and then renewed again, that's where the opportunity is, that's where the magic is, that's where the potential for massive savings in, and better value for money really lies. It's an old marketing truism, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Most marketing and advertising directors will say that they know that they waste roughly 50% of their advertising budget. They just don't know which half. And this will be an opportunity for us, when it comes to government expenditure, to break that particular truism in half and say, we will know. Because what will happen is, Of that 300 billion, or as much of it as we can possibly manage, the amendment allows the Minister to exclude some contracts if he thinks they're too small or if they are governed by national expenditure, national security. But for everything else, we will know up front what the contract is supposed to achieve, which after all is a rather basic thing. You'd think it would be automatically recorded, but at the moment it just isn't. You've got to say that up front, what you're trying to do, and then at the end of the contract, you're supposed to say, well, did we do it? That's got to be evaluated by an arm's-length body according to the existing independent criteria laid out in something called the Magenta Book, Mr. Deputy Speaker, which is long established and very well respected. If you do that evaluation, then you can say, well, look, did it work? And if it didn't, then what happens is you get a learning loop. You get an opportunity, as the new economy specialists and entrepreneurs call it, to fail fast, to make sure that you spot the duds and you don't renew them, that you don't extend them, that you don't allow them to just carry on rolling over willy-nilly, but instead you say, we're going to change something. We're going to say, well, this didn't work, it's going to be published, and then we will not renew that contract in that form. We will change it in order to fix the faults which have now been identified and at the moment aren't identified and are allowed to continue to roll and roll and roll and roll. So it's a blessedly simple idea, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It's also something which will pay for itself, as I was discussing earlier when the Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee was giving her speech. It's something that will pay for itself because the amount of money this thing will save would rapidly pay, not just for the existing costs of the What Works network, but probably for a huge expansion, were the Ministers so minded, in order to drive these kinds of evaluations through other forms of the, or other parts of the national procurement effort. And therefore it would cost the taxpayer net not a bean. It would dramatically improve the value for money that we're getting, and it would also, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I think, improve the credibility of our public service delivery, which all governments of every kind and every stripe always struggle with. And this would be a ready-made and arm's-length route for politicians of any party to be able to say, we are doing the right thing, this is done independently, and we will make sure that next time round we weed out the bad, we expand the good, and that, Mr. Deputy Speaker, could be genuinely revolutionary.
Sir Onley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. The Liberal Democrats